Whoa! I just tripped over a USB cable. Hold up. Trying to back up. Oh, welcome to the Lost Begotten channel, where we are not getting injured. Other than the suffering we've already went through, being disenfranchised, largely as a nation. See, here's the deal. There's what I call subtly accurate statistics. That is, when you ask a question indirectly, like, do you acknowledge the fact that the Women's March was a bigger crowd? Okay. This is a more accurate statistic of Donald Trump's actual support versus you might be able to get, people just kind of saying, when you call them up, saying, oh, he's a fucking president now, so yeah, I support him. To get to the 44% that Rachel Maddow mentioned previously in this broadcast, like 5 seconds before. But, back in the 80s, way back in the 80s, oh my God, it's been a long time. Why do I hear clownfish fighting? What is going on? Okay, sorry. Distraction. Distraction. So way back in the 80s. Way back. In ancient times when we were kids. In church and in Sunday school, they were preaching that it's okay to have faith in God will be victorious, and that's because of this little thing about a third of the angels falling. So basically, the balance of angels versus demons, good versus evil, wasn't 50-50. It was a third versus 2/3, roughly. Have you noticed something consistent about Donald Trump's real support numbers when you take into effect subtle questions?
They're evil and stupid. Sorry.
I'm talking about numbers here.
I know.
I mean, and technically I'm proving that mathematically.
I'm just a bitter old Democrat, don't mind me.
Oh. I'm just an American. I don't,
Yeah. That's very true, because I do agree with some Republican ideology.
We voted for a couple of local Republicans,
Yeah,
so.
that's true.
Anyways.
Sorry.
Like, I vote Republican for, like, judges and commissioners and things like that, and depending on who's running. I've seen some con artists run in local races and Democratic, but I'm not going into that. Anyways. So, by the numbers, used to be said back in the 80s when we all actually still went to church. Anybody old enough to remember back in the 80s when you still went to church? How do I know it was the 80s? Who the fuck are you talking to? Oh yeah, I know you were there for a while in the 90s, but then the drugs got good, so. Oh, moving on. I was there too. Anyways. So.
You were there, and even you were there, Scarecrow.
It's interesting, I don't think I need to beleaguer the obvious fucking point here. What I'm saying is that what once was Christians, the people who think that they're actually on the side of good for some reason, I just don't know anymore, how Republicans could possibly sleep at night, let alone wake themselves up in the morning and think they're working for a good cause. You're the third. You are the third that has fallen. Look at you. Bowing to your Antichrist. And how many of you even bothered to show up for his inauguration? because you know in your hearts you are deceived. See, an interesting proof that atheists have often asked me for my entire life as an exorcist and as a witness to Christianity. Prove to me that demons exist. Prove to me that it's not some psychological thing. Prove to me that there's an organized conspiracy of evil that dates back far enough to have expertise in the manipulation of mankind. As a whole, they that deceive the world have caused the third to fall. And thus anyone who dares still support Trump, let alone tolerate his destruction of this country day by day, I ask you, repent.